Hey Ledgers, I hope you're doing well today. Today we take a look at Psalm 120. It's the first of the Ascent Psalms, psalms that were written to be recited on pilgrimage on the way to Jerusalem. And so there's 15 psalms that they would recite as they would go 3 times a year to the holy city, to Jerusalem, and they would be partners on pilgrimage, I guess you would say. Things that would keep them on track and keep them focused. For us as followers of Christ, as we put our hope in Him, we long for, in our pilgrimage, we long for when Jesus makes all things new. We long for when all the troubles and brokenness of this world will be made new in the new heaven and a new earth. And so that frames our understanding of pilgrimage. We're all on spiritual journeys. We're all heading somewhere. And we look off into the distance, and these psalms give us a framework and give us encouragement and challenge us as we go along. It is a beautiful song by Andrew Peterson. I'll put the link in the description below. The title of it is He Worthy? I hope that we sing it someday when we're back together again in worship. But the first line of the song, he asks the question in song form, do you feel the world is broken? And then there's a response, we do. Just a beautiful reminder. This beautiful song reminds us that God's at work in a broken world, and that He's doing this through Jesus Christ. And so listen to it when you get a chance. It's beautiful and very encouraging. But this Psalm 120, really should give us a sense of longing, a sense of weariness in the broken world that we live in, and a forward look to hope we have in Jesus Christ as God makes all things new. As we read it, you'll see that the psalmist really longs for something better. He longs for peace. He longs for truth. He feels trapped, and he calls out for God to rescue him. And so Psalm 120 says this: I call on the Lord in my distress, and He answers me. Save me, Lord, from lying lips and from deceitful tongues. And so we get a little sense the psalmist is stuck in a situation where it is very unpleasant. The brokenness is very evident in his world, and he's longing for peace. He's longing to be rescued, and so he calls on the Lord. Verse 3 picks it up. What will He do to you, and what more besides, you deceitful tongue? He will punish you with a warrior's sharp arrow, with burning coals of the broom brush. It's just the reality that God judges wickedness, that He just doesn't sit idly by, even though He doesn't always rescue us as soon as we think. The psalmist looks to God's rescue and looks to God's taking care of the problem, not in his own strength or what he can do, but he looks to God to solve this problem, to correct the brokenness that he's experiencing. And then we get to the last few verses, and we get a deep sense of his longing here. It says this: woe to me that I dwell in Meshech, that I live among the tents in Kedar. Too long have I lived among those who hate peace. I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. And so there's a deep longing for a place of peace. As we read the psalm, we could get a sense for the Jews as they were getting ready, as they were traveling to Jerusalem, which is the place of peace, how this would get them moving in the right direction, how they would recognize how things were broken and how they needed to journey towards the place that God dwelled, the holy city, the temple. And the same is true for us as the people of God. As we look around us and we sense the brokenness from simple life situations to deep and terrible problems, we see the world is broken. Relationships are hard. Life comes at us in different forms, and there's lots of pain and suffering. We have to say goodbye to people. And so we can acknowledge that there is a lot of brokenness. And so I think this psalm helps us long for peace, long for the day when Christ will make all things new. We long for the day when our groanings and our troubles will be gone. And so as I close today, I just want to encourage you to think about how this psalm might be reflected somewhere in you of the longings that you have. And where does it point you? Where does it point you? Does it point you to your own solutions, or does it point you to God who brings peace through Jesus Christ, and ultimately a new heaven and a new earth where all things will be made new, where there will be no more troubles or sorrows or brokenness in the world? And so that's the first question. How does the psalm stir up the longings in your heart? And where does it point you? The second thing is how is Jesus Christ the answer to this psalm? That's what I'd like you to reflect on. How is Jesus Christ the answer to this psalm? And maybe if you want to peek at Revelation 21, maybe that might be a good place to go as you think about Jesus Christ and how he is the answer to this psalm. Well, hey, I'm so glad to spend a few minutes with you today, and we look forward to when we can be back together again. I pray the Lord is with you and he keeps you, and I hope you have a good Friday. God bless. We'll see ya.